My husband and I look at each other, this is a true story, and we say, clearly, this is not about the pumpkins. So I was learning during the course of that work that I needed to become more involved with checking on my body instead of always pushing things down, take the time to check in with myself and think, where am I at? What do I need to do for myself?
Welcome to the Colleague Down the Hall podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Collab Oasis Clinical Consultation Groups. Hi, I'm Janine Wolf, and I'm your colleague down the hall. I have a passion for helping fellow therapists get the clinical and collegial support we all need to do this work. And wow, it just keeps getting harder every day. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Collab Oasis Clinical Consultation Groups. I have been a social worker for almost 30 years, and I own a successful solo online private practice. More of us than ever are practicing in solo or online practices, and we all need colleagues to process cases with, commiserate with on those really hard days, and also to celebrate our successes with. In this podcast, I'll bring you insights about trends and changes in our field and sit down with amazing therapists who are doing amazing work. We'll discuss fictionalized cases, ways to practice sustainably, and of course, there will be plenty of laughing. I love laughing with friends. I'm so glad to have you as one of my colleagues down the hall.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Colleague Down the Hall podcast. I'm your host, Janine Wolf, and I have something a little bit different that I want to do for this episode. I was reflecting on some of the stresses and things that I've been seeing with therapists in my consultation groups, as well as therapists on Facebook groups, and there's just been a lot going on. And it made me think back to about a year and a half into the pandemic. I did an hour that I invited therapists to come into. It was called an hour of breathing space. I felt like we needed a place that we could show up, be together, be with people who understood the toll that our work can take on us and the lack of support we have in our personal lives most of the time from family members who don't really understand the work that we do and the toll that it takes on us. And so it was a time to bring therapists together so we could talk about how we were dealing with the pandemic, the stressors that we deal with in our work, and all of those things. And so I thought that this would be a good episode to do a similar thing, because as much as we reach out to support our clients and we do everything from there, most therapists will admit that we don't do the things for ourselves that we tell our clients to do for themselves. We don't always manage our nervous systems the way that we should, build resilience the way that we should, make sure we're taking time off the way that we should. So I hope you'll enjoy today's episode as a way for me to give back to you the way you give to your clients. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is we have this thing in our field where we are never taught to put ourselves into the equation. We are taught to be blank slate. We are taught about decision-making in the best interest of the client. But now more than ever, it's really clear that we need to make sure that we're looking at our own needs as well. If you listen to the previous episode on referring out clients, I addressed a lot of this. And so I'm not going to repeat it now. You might want to go back and listen to that. But basically, if we are working with clients who are not a good fit for us, who are damaging us in some way, maybe they talk disparagingly against something about our identity or have some sort of thing about themselves that is very difficult for us or even offensive, it's okay to refer those people out. It's okay to say, this is too much for me. I'm going to find a better therapist for this person who's going to love working with that client. And so one of the things that we see in a lot of the trainings that people are doing is we talk about ideal clients. And sometimes there's a lot of hate around this, but I want you to think about it this way. When I work with my ideal client, I might have a really hard session with them, but most likely at the end of that session, I feel energized or at least not completely exhausted. And if I see a client that is exhausting me, it's going to impact my entire caseload on all my other clients. And so no one is getting the best of me. So that is an important thing to keep in mind. So again, the boundary setting we would encourage our clients to do, the things that we would encourage them to do in other aspects of their lives, we need to really start looking at doing the things for ourselves so that we can make this work sustainable. This work, if you want to be in this field for any amount of time, and I've been in this field since the early 90s, you need to be looking for ways to pivot, to shift, to change, to make sure that the way you're working is meeting the needs that you have in the present. So over the years, I have changed my office hours. I have changed the types of clients that I work with. I have changed how many clients I see in a day or how many I see back to back before I have a break. And all of those things are really important to make this work sustainable. So I want you to pause for a minute, and you can even pause this podcast if you like. And I want you to write down some of the things that you're really struggling with right now. When you get to Friday, are you feeling like, oh, this is a good week, I accomplished a lot, this is working well? Or are you thinking, oh my gosh, thank God it's Friday because I'm so exhausted, I just can't do this? So if you are having those feelings, I want you to jot some of those things down for a minute. You don't need to spend a long time thinking about this, but just jot some of those things down. Then I want you to look at those things. And again, you can pause in a minute to write this down. I want you to think about some things that you need to empower yourself to change. So it can be altering the way that you're working, who you're working with, scheduling. If you're not having a break at all during the day, I don't recommend that. I did that for years, and it will lead to nothing but discontent and fatigue and compassion fatigue and all those other things. So think about the things that you can power yourself to change. There might be things, if you are doing agency work or you're with a group practice, there might be some things on that list that you can't change. But I want you to at least acknowledge them. And I want you to try to support your nervous system around those things and recognize the things that you can change and focus on those. So right now, what I want to do is I want to guide you through some different sensory somatic exercises. Some of these are going to involve visualizing things in your mind. I have a condition called aphantasia. That means that I cannot create pictures in my mind. Some people have it and they don't know it. So what I want for you to do is I want you to imagine a red apple. If you can picture that red apple in your mind, then you do not have aphantasia, or you might have a mild form of it. I can't create any pictures in my mind. And for years and years, I would sit through guided visualizations and meditations and things like that. And I would always end up feeling ashamed and uncomfortable because at the end, when everyone would describe the beautiful valley that they walked through or the wildflower field or the day at the beach, I hadn't pictured any of that. And what I came to learn about myself, though, is if I'm really trying to get into it, I can sense what those things are. So once I learned to let go of the fact that I can't make these pictures in my mind, but I have a different way of conceptualizing them, it's been a lot easier for me. And so if you do these types of exercises with your clients, I would encourage you to think about asking them that question, picture a red apple, and see if they can do that. Because if you don't do that and they have aphantasia, whether they know it or not, it's really likely that you're going to push some shame buttons for them or create some other discontent. And that's absolutely not what we want to do. Okay, so I want you to get comfortable. You can sit in a chair, you can lay on the floor, you can snuggle up with your favorite comforter or stuffed animal, whatever you think is going to be most supportive to you. And keep in mind that if there are things that feel unsafe to you, make sure you're choosing things that allow you to feel safe so that you can really participate in this exercise. I want you to allow yourself to acknowledge the stress in your body and mind that comes with walking alongside your clients. Acknowledge that since the pandemic, we have had so many changes that we've had to deal with. We've had so many obstacles having to switch quickly online. Maybe you stayed online, maybe you're back in your office, or maybe you're doing a hybrid practice. But if you haven't really done the work around letting go of that, if that change was really difficult, I want you to think about that now. I also, if you take health insurance, I want you to think about the hack of the Change Health Clearinghouse and all the chaos that created. I still have payments that are outstanding because of that. It's still not getting resolved very quickly. We're starting to see some money trickle in, but that was a huge stressor for so many of us. I'm also, for the first time ever, having claims denied that I've never had before, even with clients that have had covered services before. So there are other impacts of that hack that we're still dealing with. I want you to relax your body and release those areas of tension. Allow your arms to go limp, then your legs. Relax your jaw and your shoulders. Take your tongue off the roof of your mouth. Breathe deeply into your diaphragm, drawing air fully into your lungs, and release the air as fully as you can. And I want you to do that for a few times to just get your body really into that restful place. If you want to close your eyes, that's fine. If you prefer to keep them open, that's fine too. I want you to breathe in love and breathe out tension. Breathe in harmony and breathe out discord. Keep doing even breath because you want to become more and more relaxed with each breath. Feel your body giving up all of that tension, becoming relaxed and calm and peaceful. Now I want you to imagine that you are walking towards the ocean, or you could be walking through a beautiful tropical forest or a field of flowers, whatever you find to be a comforting place for you. I'm going to continue using the example of an ocean, but you can use different things that you would be seeing in your setting if you want. So as you're walking towards the ocean, you can begin to hear the waves up ahead lapping at the shore. You can smell the spray of the ocean air. The air is moist and warm. You might feel a pleasant, cool breeze blowing on your skin. You might feel the hot sun on your skin. You might even be feeling them both at the same time. You keep walking along the path, and you are coming closer and closer to the sea. And you see the brilliant aqua color of the ocean. And maybe you see some palm trees. Imagine hearing some seagulls flying ahead. Maybe you can hear some children down the beach laughing and playing. You might be feeling really hot. Continue to approach the water. Feel the mist of the ocean on your skin. Feel the waves as they lap at your feet. Feel the sand becoming wet and firm as you get closer to the waves. The waves are washing over the sand towards you, and it begins to touch your toes before receding. With each wave, your feet start to sink a little bit into the sand. You feel the cool and the damp underneath. As you step forward, more water washes over your feet. Feel the cool water provide relief from the heat. The heat that might be bearing down on your shoulders and your head and your arms and your legs. And feel the coolness of the water that's helping you regulate your temperature. Imagine yourself feeling calm and refreshed. Now you're going to walk back up out of the water and onto the beach. Stroll along the beach's water's edge, free of worries, free of stress, full of calm. Enjoy this simple retreat. You see a lounge chair under a shady palm tree. Lie down, relax on the chair. Stretch your body out to its fullest length, straightening your spine, relaxing your arms and your legs. Now you feel peaceful and relaxed on a very deep level. Continue to let any stress melt away. I want you to just hold this image and this feeling for a moment. And then I want to walk you through an exercise. Repeat this after me. Remember, you are enough for your clients. You are enough for your practice. You are enough for yourself. You are enough for your clients. You are enough for your practice. You are enough for yourself. You are enough for your clients. You are enough for your practice. You are enough for yourself. Take a minute to let that flow through your body. Feel the relaxation and the calm. Allow yourself to lean into this feeling. While you're in this calm place, I want you to think about how often you let yourself fully relax in this way. Our work is hard. We walk along clients who have dealt with unimaginable things in their lives, in their past, in their present, concerns about their future. And I want you to think about the ways that you find most supportive for yourself when you're realizing that the work is beginning to take a toll on you. I started my career the first 10 years working in pediatric hospice. And so we absolutely had a policy that if we needed to take a mental health day, we absolutely could do that. But I had to start understanding the signals that my body was sending me to know when I really needed to do that. Sometimes it was spontaneously crying. Out of the blue, I'm sobbing. That's a big indicator that I need to take some time for myself. I also started to learn that I could feel it in the back of my eyeballs. I would start feeling pressure back there because most of us, and I'm sure you tell this to your clients, we don't have time to deal with difficult emotions every moment of every day. So we push it down. We push through it. We move on. But if we continue doing that day after day and week after week, it's going to be too much for us. And you're going to find yourself having a conversation with your husband about buying pumpkins for Halloween. His opinion is, no, we don't really know them. We don't really need them. And you find yourself bursting into tears. And my husband and I look at each other, this is a true story, and we say, clearly, this is not about the pumpkins. So I was learning during the course of that work that I needed to become more involved with checking on my body instead of always pushing things down, take the time to check in with myself and think, where am I at? What do I need to do for myself? What has become the go-to for me is I need to have a periodic cry. It really freaks my husband out when I do this. Although we've been together now 40 years, so it's not so much these days, but he would be very distressed. He would come into the bedroom and I would be sobbing. And so I learned to tell him, hey, honey, it's been a rough patch. I need to go have a good cry. I'm fine. I don't need anything. It's all good. This will be good for both of us. So I had to have some go-to cry movies. Some people, it might be a poem. It might be a song. It might be some other type of media. But when I'm in that place where I know I really need to let it all out, then I have a few go-to movies that I use for crying. For many, many years, it was the movie Steel Magnolias, and that one still can get me having a really good, get me to have a really good cry. A number of years ago, my younger daughter got very into the movie Les Miserables and played the soundtrack all the time. And we watched the movie a couple of times. And it really has become my go-to movie. I can start crying actually pretty early on in that movie because I just know how terrible and Anne Hathaway's character's life is going to be. But I lean into it. I let myself sob, full body sobs. I'm loud. I'm messy. It's an ugly cry to the extreme. And I just let my whole body do what it needs to do to get it out of me. So I want you to think about, what are the ways that you can get a release? What are the ways that you can check in with your body? What are the cues you need to be paying attention to? And at what point when you've had those cues, do you need to do what you tell your clients to do? Take some time to take care of the business that your body needs. And I also want you to look moving forward at, as I referenced earlier, some things you might need to change in your practice. Maybe you're seeing too many clients in a week, or you're seeing clients too many days, or too early in the morning, or too late at night, or on the weekends. Think about how many clients in a row you can see before you need a break. For some people, it might be one client and they need 30 minutes. If you're a highly sensitive person, you're going to need more buffer time. It might be that you prefer to get all your clients in a fewer number of days because your tolerance for back-to-back sessions is good, and that's okay. But keep an eye on that because it can catch up with you without you really realizing it. I want you to think about the quality time that you have when you're not working. Do you have enough of that? Do you have a variety of supportive activities? Do you have things that stimulate your senses, that stimulate your mind, that stimulate your body, that help you socialize, that help you relax? So now I want us to move into just a really basic, gentle yoga exercise. You can stand or you can sit. You want to keep your feet hip distance apart, or if it's more comfortable, you can bring them together. I want you to inhale, and as you do, lift your arms up, lift up your chest, or do a gentle back bend. Keep lifting up your chest and leaning back as much as you can, and then release your arms and come back to a neutral spine. Another thing that you can do is the superhero stance. If you've never tried it, it's really amazing. You want to stand with your feet a fair distance apart. You want to put your hands on your hips. Picture Superman here. You want to push out your chest, lift up your chin, and feel the power that your body can take hold of in that position. That's something really simple that you can do if you're having a hard day. Your body is going to respond in amazing ways to that. Okay, now place your feet wide. This time your heels are in one line with inhale. You want to lengthen the spine with the exhale. Now bend from the hips, bend forward. Your hands can stay on your hips or place them on the ground if you're very flexible. Your knees can be bent or straight. Slightly inhale and create space in your spine. And then exhale and bend forward a little bit more. Now place your right hand in the middle between your feet and inhale. Swipe the left arm up and twist. And you want to sort of make a gentle arch with your hand. Keep breathing into the twist, opening as much as you can, and now reach for the ceiling. Then bring your hand back down and bring your left arm to the center and bring your open arm over towards the right, leaning into an arc with your arm while you're deeply inhaling. Push your hand up towards the sky, up towards the ceiling. And with this exhale, I want you to bring your hands back and slowly rise to standing. Turn your right foot so that you are facing forward. Extend your arms sideways. Lean to the right and drop your hand down to your shin, making a triangle. You want to be deeply inhaling while you're doing this. And exhale. With the next inhale, we're going to switch sides and do the same thing with your left hand. Turn your left foot so your toes are facing forward. Lean to the left foot. Drop your hand to your shin. And you can reach your right hand up and exhale. Now inhale and come to a standing position. Now I want you to stand with your hips, with your feet hip width apart, and bring your hands together as if in prayer. Or you can bring your hands over your heart or your chest, or whatever position makes you feel a sense of comfort and safety. And then we're going to continue to breathe in. We're going to do a double breathe in. Breathe in even deeper, hold, and exhale very loudly. Whatever sound or feeling that needs to come out of your mouth on the exhale, do that. This is continuing to relax your body and really embrace that calm. Keep in mind that if this feeling is very novel and engaging to you, that's probably a sign that you need to be doing this more often. So I want you to look at your calendar after this podcast, or you can pause it now, and I want you to use a colored pen to write in multiple days a week where you're going to take 30 minutes or an hour to do some of this breath work, somatic work. If you have favorite poses or exercises you want to do, if you want to sit in a chair in a relaxed state and listen to some calm music, if you want to bring more of your body into it, go wash your hands. Go to the sink and turn on some warm water. Take some soap and feel your hands caressing the smooth, silky soap on your hands and gently rinse them off. Or better yet, do the same thing with your feet. There are so many ways that we can support our nervous system, our minds, and our bodies without going to great extremes. And if you incorporate these things throughout your day and throughout your week, you're going to have your work be more sustainable. Another thing I want you to do is think about some sessions that you have that are particularly hard. You look at your calendar in the morning and you see that client and you start thinking, oh, this is going to be a hard day. So before you see that client, I want you to remind yourself, sometimes the work with that client is supporting them and creating space for them to have someone there who is in attunement with them, who understands them, who is walking alongside them. Sometimes they might be doing things that each week you tell them the same thing over and over. They're continuing to not follow through. These clients can be really frustrating. And I would really encourage you to discuss these clients with your clinical consultation group, because it may mean that you need to refer them out. But if you work well with them, but you just dread them, then I want you to frame your perspective before you see them. Set the adjustment. I'm not going to accomplish leaps and bounds with this client today, and that's okay. That's not what they need from me right now. And at the end of that session, I want you to set aside some time, and I want you to brush the session off. Brush your hands on your body, do some really loud, frustrated exhales, stand in the sunshine, take a quick walk, stand in the grass so that you can find that natural grounding. Whatever you need to do, those are the things that you can support yourself as you continue to do this work. Now, admittedly, I am not a yoga teacher. That probably was a little bit awkward, but I hope you got something out of it. If what you got out of it is that you need more, then please seek out resources. There are YouTube videos. There are all kinds of resources that are free or inexpensive for guided meditations, guided visualizations, yoga nidra, something that can be really refreshing for you, Reiki. There's all kinds of ways that you can support yourself. So I want you to keep in mind as you look at your calendar and make sure that you're putting those things in on a regular basis and keeping in touch with your body for the signs to let you know you need something more. I hope you found this helpful, and I just want to remind you that our work is hard, but it doesn't have to be lonely. So seek out support from colleagues, from whoever. If you don't have some colleagues that are your therapy besties, seek them out, okay? Find the support system that you need because our work is hard and just by the very nature. But since the pandemic, so many people are struggling so much more. And so I just want you to allow yourself to own this. Our work is hard, but it doesn't have to be lonely. So I need to find community. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for listening to the Colleague Down the Hall podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to colleaguedownthehall.com, where you'll be able to learn more about getting the clinical support you need and resources to help you work in a supported, sustainable way. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your therapy friends and colleagues. Subscribe to the podcast, and if you love this episode, please leave a review.